For staying with us as we carry on with our discussion on land reforms with Lands and Physical Planning Cabinet Secretary Farida Karoney. And once again, thank you so much for your feedback. We're seeing all your messages. Remember, 22422 is our SMS line, and the hashtag is Newsnight. And we already have some tweets that we want to take a look at this moment. This is what Kenyans are saying online at this moment. We start with, okay, that looks like LSK President Nelson Harvey. You say, ask Land CS whether she involved the Law Society of Kenya in the formulation of the digital land registration system. A system cannot work optimally unless it's designed for and in conjunction with the end consumers. Okay, Honourable President, I will ask the CS that. What else are Kenyans saying this evening? Josephine Nyakiamano says, CS Farida Karoney with the facts and figures. Rome was truly not built in a day. Keep on cleaning those records. Change may not be comfortable with some folks, but the job must be done. Very commendable. Patience, rather, matters. Okay, I think we can take another two more. Mwema is saying, ask her again. A digital solution should not lack a redundancy system, a backup or a failsafe. By her own admission, 2 months later, system is barely 50% up, hasn't rolled out beyond one county. That's a question I'll pose to her, Mwema. And another one here, Soko Analyst is saying, listening to the CS for Lands, Farida Karoney, one thing is for sure, conveyancing is being disrupted in ways we never thought possible. Good discussion. Okay, that's those are your tweets. I'll be reading your SMSs a bit later on in the program. But let me allow the CS to immediately respond to some of those questions. Start with the President, not of Kenya, but of the LSK, Nelson Harvey, Madam CS. Did you have suitable public participation with the legal fraternity?
Yes, Wahiga. This is one system that has enjoyed a heavy dose of public participation. The whole month of February, if you remember, I even came here to Citizen TV. We did nothing but speak to our stakeholders about the system, what we were planning, what we were inputting, what we were planning how we were planning to roll it out. And in fact, Wahiga, the task force that helped us to develop regulations for implementing the system had the membership of the LSK. So even the Nairobi branch, where the system is live, we've worked this journey for over one year now. Because when we started the process in 2018, we had very many fights with the LSK. They even took us to court. Then after that, we sat back and said, let us engage the LSK because they are a key stakeholder. Let us work with them. And we've worked with them from July of 2019, Wahiga. Up to now, we even have a meeting coming up on Thursday with the Nairobi branch because of the issues that they are raising. So if there's any professional body that we have engaged, it is the LSK. So
why do you think these comments keep coming up? Do you think is it resistant to change? Is it that the training needs more training needs to be done maybe?
I wouldn't call it resistance, Wahiga. This is a new platform. It's new even to the staff of the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning. We keep learning every day. We deploy something, we realize it has a gap, we fix the gap. So I don't want to call it resistance. I want to call it just the transition process from one system, which is a manual system, fairly straightforward, to a very sophisticated digital platform. It will take time. People will feel uncomfortable, but that is the nature of change. We just have to work the journey with them. So to answer Harvey directly, yes, we did engage the LSK, and we continue to engage the LSK. Last week I had a meeting with surveyors. The other week we had a meeting with I think valuers. So we keep engaging all these professionals and talking to them about the system. We hold webinars, online engagements to show people how to deploy the system. We've even had developed videos on how to do things on the platform, and they are on our YouTube platform, because we recognize that our stakeholders are new to the platform and some of them are struggling with it. So there are very many avenues where we are engaging our stakeholders. And then there's the second tweet, I don't remember the name. Mwema.
Still asking about that failsafe backup.
Asking about backup. Now this system has not 2 but 3 redundancies. If the main deployment is at the Geospatial Data Center in Ruaraka. If that Ruaraka server was to go down, there are 2 other servers which will pick up automatically. So there are enough redundancies to the system. What I said we are uncomfortable about is the idea that we should go back to manual. We shouldn't go back to manual because we are struggling. We should fix whatever the struggles are and proceed to deploy the system to the central registry. The reason why we are holding central registry is because we want to stabilize with the Nairobi registry. Once we are stabilized, we will migrate to the central registry. But I don't think the solution is to say, let's go back to the manual system.
If other land registries in other jurisdictions in the United Kingdom actually migrated with that hybrid model, it's not something, you know, stakeholders could convince you as the land CS to think?
I just said, Wahiga, one registry is 100% manual. We are still manual in the central registry.
That's correct.
We are fully digital in the Nairobi registry. The reason why we separated the two registries is we wanted time to understand the gaps and the weaknesses in the system. And we are using the Nairobi registry, which has fewer records than the central registry. Once we are 100% comfortable with Nairobi registry, we shall then migrate to the digital platform on the central registry.
What does this then do for your timelines? I think in previous interviews you spoke about a rollout to Nairobi metropolitan area in the next month or so. Any new dates in regards to that? By
the end of the year, there are no new dates because we have parallel teams working on those areas. We have a core team which is focusing on Nairobi and making sure that Nairobi is stabilized. But smaller teams are already out there assessing what we need to deploy, and we are just waiting for the budgetary allocations in the month of July, and we will continue. We still have about 20 counties which we committed to before His Excellency the President by the end of the year, and we still intend to cover those 20 counties. So there are teams looking at data sets there, arranging files, coding, because we said we need to learn from the mistakes that we are making in Nairobi. So that is still on course, Wahiga, but our focus as the core team of the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning is to stabilize Nairobi, because Nairobi, as I said during the launch, was our pilot county. We wanted to see how can we successfully deploy this platform. And it's working, Wahiga. The thing is, we are having challenges with data. We are not having challenges with the system. And the data has challenges because of the gaps. And there's a map I had wanted with this map. That is part of the reason all our data sets are. This is a map.
What interchange is this? That's what it looks like.
It's one of the interchanges in Nairobi, and the parcels, the drawings in red, those are land parcels. We have overlaid with satellite imagery so that you can see the challenge that we are facing. Those are parcels in a roundabout, in an interchange, and some of them on actually the road itself.
Yes, we definitely can see some of the land parcels are on there.
So these are parcels of land which are titled. All those parcels have titles, but you can see, Wahiga, they're on a road. Those parcels cannot be on the platform, so if you try to search, you will not find them. And that is why we have to keep verifying to ensure that the system or the parcel that you're searching is not one of those. It's not a parcel that is on the road.
This is not a sample, this is reality.
This is real. This is a sample I've taken from our cadastre. This is the cadastre.
The collation of maps.
Yes, exactly.
System, yes.
Yeah, geospatial data for Nairobi. So this is a section of some road in Nairobi. And this is not a sample. This is actual. This is taken from our cadastre. And this is the challenge we are facing with our data. Our data has all these kinds of issues. There are others in forest land. Others, as I said before, next to airports or next to railway reserves. Those kinds of parcels cannot be on the platform, and for good reason. Because how do you put such a thing on the platform, Wahiga? When you search, why do you want to see a parcel of land that is on a roundabout or on an interchange? It doesn't make sense. We deployed this system to help us eradicate these challenges. And if I was operating on the manual space, I would not have been able to identify that challenge. Because in Survey of Kenya, that would have been a fully authenticated survey plan, fully signed by government, because those are signed by government officials as proper survey plans. Only until you put it on a digital platform and overlay the satellite imagery, then you begin to see the problems that we are facing in our sector.
What's the status of the titles, those titles in particular, for example?
The reason why they will not be on the platform is because we have locked them. Then, as I keep saying, we have a separate process, because you see there's a process, Wahiga, to cancel a title. I can't wake up one day and cancel a title. I can't do that. I don't have that power before the law. So we'll set up this a different process, which is now interrogating what really happened. How did we register titles on roundabouts, on railway reserves, on road reserves? And then the due process of the law will ensue, because we are not going to correct our mistakes by breaking the law. We must follow the law.
Do you know what worries me, Madam CS, this evening? That the officials that allowed this to happen might still be working somewhere in the Lands Ministry ecosystem. Does that worry you?
As I said, Wahiga, the problems in our sector have built up over 60 years, 58 years to be exact. Maybe the person who signed that survey plan retired 20 years ago or 30 years ago, because some of these are records that predate independence. They're actually before independence. And I don't believe in a punitive way to introduce change, because if we are looking for people to punish, we will never digitize, because all of us will be culpable. Because somebody signed it, somebody approved. It might be. All of us will be out of a job if we try to look for people to punish. Because we have created this chaos over such a long, long time. I think what we should focus on going forward is to prevent that kind of madness from happening again in our country. That is the right way to go. Let's not focus on punishment. Let us focus on creating systems that ensure sustainability in land management. And that is what we are focusing on. And that is why I'm telling our professionals, be patient with us. It's not going to be easy to undo these kinds of things. Because, you know, title deed is a serious document. It's as good as money. You can't wake up one day and cancel it. And you also can't wake up one day and assign Wahiga land that does not belong to Wahiga. So we have to be patient with each other. We have to be tolerant of the process that is so painful, I tell you. If there's anybody who is pained by what we are doing, it's me. I'm hardly sleeping, Wahiga, because of these kinds of things.
And Madam CS, that I do understand why you say if we focus too much on what happened in the past, we won't actually achieve the digitization that you speak of. But EACC, DCI, these are institutions that have the mandate and the budgets to carry out that work. How much of this will now aid them? Can we expect to see a raft of arrests in the coming months aided by this system?
I think, Wahiga, we are jumping the gun. Because the conversation we are having here is slow deployment of the system. Why are we looking for people to arrest when we have not fully deployed the system? I
have already looked at the next couple of months.
I think let us focus on full implementation of the system. As I said, there's a separate process and different conversations going on within government regarding what to do with these kinds of anomalies in our system. So that's a separate process, and we don't want to burden the staff of the Ministry of Lands with that kind of engagement, because as you correctly say, there are agencies of government whose work it is to establish what went wrong. And that process is a process that might take several years. For now, let us focus on successful deployment of the system. And as I tell you, Wahiga, ordinary Kenyans are very pleased with this system, because for the first time, they have power in their hands. They can sit at home, get into this system, and transact, or through their advocates transact, without a middleman, without a broker, without a cartel, without even knowing who the Minister of Lands is. That is power we are giving to landowners in Kenya. And we are telling them, we want to guarantee you that this system is absolutely secure. Once we tell you, Wahiga, this land belongs to you, nobody can take it away from you. And if they try to, we have an audit trail, we can tell what happened. That is why we are saying, let us be patient, let us try and implement this system to the fullest extent. Let us not buckle because there's pressure and because people are uncomfortable with what we are doing. It's good for our country, I keep saying, and our country needs this kind of a system.
For those who question, Madam CS, why they are required to upload their titles, for example, why would you not have a system that when you log in and put in your ID number and whatever other details you have, it would already identify any titles or pieces of land that are linked with your particular identity, so that your job is simply verification rather than asking me as Wahiga Mwaura to go and look for my title and scan it and upload. What's the reason for that?
The challenge, I just told you during the first part of our interview that we have 14,000 land parcels with incomplete documentation. It means, Wahiga, we can't tell with certainty who that land belongs to. So if you come on the platform, the first thing you do, of course, you register yourself, create your account, and then you enumerate your parcels. If the parcel you are enumerating is one of those 14,000, then we ask you upload your title so that we can check with other documentations that we have in order to complete the documents in your file. Because we are asking these 14,000 landowners to help us to complete these documents, to make sure that the documentation in the parcel file is complete so that you're able to transact. So if your parcel is already listed and is verified, there's no need to upload because it will already be in our system. But if it is not, and we are saying we want to tell whether this land actually belongs to you, please show us that you have a title, upload it. Then we check it against other documents. As I said, it's a fully integrated system. It has different data sets from different departments of the ministry. So we are able to check against other data sets whether the land actually belongs to you, Wahiga. So that is why we sometimes ask you to upload if your documentation is not complete.
So it's not always. Again, no. I've only tried the system from a very sort of far-off perspective.
Yeah.
At least I was able to log into it yesterday before this interview to make sure I verify some of the claims that have been made.
Yes.
But so it's not all information that's requested, because some would then ask, doesn't the ministry have that information? Aren't they the custodians of these documents? Why are you asking me, a simple landowner out there, to resend them?
Yeah. You see, one of the things we've really struggled with over many years as a ministry is missing records. And some of them are missing in different ways. Others are outright theft, maybe they were stolen. Others have deteriorated over time, so you can't tell from the record what is on the record. And others are just misplaced. And that is why we are saying, let us go to the digital platform, because we are, as a ministry, we are really tired of this issue of missing records, or lost records, or misplaced record. If it is on this platform, it cannot be misplaced, Wahiga. If I want it, I just recall it. And one of the concerns there by the LSK, they are talking about missing records. That files cannot be found, and I'm telling them, for Nairobi registry, we have digitized those records. Even if that physical file is missing, we have an electronic document management system, and we can look for whatever you're looking for in that file. So if they are specific to say, I was looking for parcel file ABC and I couldn't find it, then we can trace it for them in the system, and it should not be a major cause of concern. The files that we are really worried about are those ones which are missing permanently, that we didn't even digitize. Some of these parcels, like there are about 4,000 parcel files here, we did not digitize because we don't know where they are. So these are some of the things that we continue to struggle with as government.
Madam CS, I want us to talk about scenarios moving forward. When Adi SASA is operational across the country, I'm sure Kenyans want to hear assurances of what that will mean generally for land management in this country. And I want to read for you two scenarios, real scenarios. 2 years ago, we know that the government spent 1.5 billion shillings of taxpayers' money to acquire the Ruaraka land that later turned out to be public land. Now, last month, we heard of yet another attempt to have the government spend 3.2 billion shillings to acquire land belonging to the Kenya National Highways Authority for the Nairobi Expressway. Is there any way you can promise Kenyans tonight that when Adi SASA is fully operational, we won't have headlines like this?
Yes, Wahiga, I can say that looking you straight in the eye, because one of the things we've done is to separate public land from private land. This cadastre, and that is how we are able to say we cannot upload those files, because we can tell it's public land. So one of the things this cadastre has done is to set aside public land from private land. And in Nairobi, we've set aside about 1,500 public land parcels. Those are locked, so you will not be able to do any transaction if you're not an authorized public official to transact on them. So that I give the assurance that once this system is fully deployed, public land will be safeguarded.
Okay, that's a strong assurance to give. We will make sure we remember that. And coming on the back of that, and it's a question you've been asked before, and I'll keep asking it again, the question of land and our political leadership. Now, Kenya's political leadership, we're talking about your boss, the president, his inner circle, your fellow cabinet secretaries, MPs, are some of the biggest landowners in this country. And as you continue to roll out this system, Madam CS, how sure are Kenyans that some of those who yield power in this country will not attempt to manipulate that same system? Because as it is automated, nevertheless, those who input the data are men and women. What assurances?
You know, Wahiga, I'm also a landowner. I own land.
I wasn't even going to... Should I be afraid?
Should I be afraid to digitize because I'm a landowner? I don't think so, Wahiga. Because it is a system that has been developed with very clear protocols. It tells you what you should or should not do in that system. So whether you own 5 acres, 10 acres, or 1,000 acres, it doesn't matter. Because as a landowner, the parameters for engagement in the system are the same across board. And the protocols we have built can be transacted by anyone. It's a very, very transparent platform, by the way. So it really doesn't matter who owns land where. As long as you're a Kenyan, you're a landowner, you abide by our laws, then you will follow the protocols in the system. So whether you have 0.5 acres or 0.1 of an acre or 50 by 100 or 2,000 acres, it doesn't matter, Wahiga.
So the ordinary Kenyan has nothing to fear. I know that you have teams that will work on some of these disputes.
Yeah.
And some of them might say, if you don't have influence in those disputes where one title or one piece of land has 3 people claiming it,
you see what will happen, and that is why we set aside a separate team to help us interrogate what has happened in the past or what has happened in cases such as this.
How big is that team, I wonder?
It's just a small team. It has lawyers, it has investigation officers, it has Ministry of Lands officers, it has NLC, it has everybody on board that has anything to do with the management of land. And we are hoping that when they start working, they will also develop a very clear TORs to tell us what happened where. And as you know, Wahiga, also the mandate of the NLC, as far as historical land injustices is concerned, is still an active mandate. And if you have any dispute or any issue or any historical claim, you are free to present it before the NLC. And I had one of commissioners I was with a function recently, Commissioner Galgalo, saying you have 90 days to present whichever claim that you have against any person regarding a historical land injustice. So there are mechanisms and frameworks within government to deal with such cases. But in terms of ordinary landowners, they have nothing to fear. We are creating a system that is very open, very transparent, and very open to scrutiny. You can scrutinize and see what we are doing as government.
Okay. Yeah. Madam CS, I'm being told we're actually almost due for our next break. We do still want to talk a bit about titling, which we can tackle on the other side. Yeah. But before that, for Nairobians watching this broadcast this evening who want to buy land in Nairobi, where should they start or transact?
You want to buy land?
You want to buy, you want to sell? Forget manual is what you've said.
Yeah.
Even if someone says, let's do this manually, that's up.
If your land parcel, the one you're interested in buying, is housed in the central registry, you can go manual.
You can go manual.
But if your land parcel is in the Nairobi registry, you have to transact digitally. And because we stopped allowing manual transactions when we brought the platform live 2 months ago.
Okay. Yeah. And for those in some of the other 20 counties that you could roll out to in the next few months, some of them might wonder, should I even transact until...
They should.
Even
they should.
Today?
Yes, until we get there, they should.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Madam CS. So those are some of the questions that are coming in, and I'll read a few more. Well, that's the state of our land. Lots of questions for Madam CS, and we'll keep sending them her way. Keep talking to us. 22422 is the SMS line. The hashtag is NEWSNIGHT, and I'll be reading a lot of your feedback when we come back and we talk a little bit about the National Titling Program, another part of the CS's mandate that she's been working on quite a bit. What's happening in regards to that, because we also see a lot of your questions in regards to that as well. You're watching NEWSNIGHT. Stay with us. We'll be right back.